Support comes from Hampton Roads Community Foundation, partnering with donors from all walks of life to improve southeastern Virginia through grants, scholarships, and leadership initiatives. Learn more at hamptonroadscf.org.
Hello, everyone. I'm another View Producer Lisa Godley in for Barbara Ham-Lee. The number of people being hospitalized for COVID-19 continues to rise. Experts say the Delta variant is spreading quickly through unvaccinated communities. But can anything be said to get people who don't want the vaccine to change their minds? The Another View Roundtable is here to discuss vaccine hesitancy, along with their thoughts on the legalization of marijuana in Virginia and so much more. Can't wait to get started and to hear from you. So give us a call at 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. The conversation begins right after this news from NPR and WHRV News.
Discussing today's topics from an African American perspective, this is Another View.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Another View. I'm Another View producer Lisa Godley in for Barbara Ham-Lee. It is frightening to see the numbers of people contracting the coronavirus as well as those being hospitalized on the rise. According to preliminary CDC data, 99% of people currently hospitalized are unvaccinated. Hearing numbers like that, you think people would be racing to be vaccinated, but that just isn't the case. About half of Virginians are fully vaccinated, and in the African American community, fewer than 25% of us are fully vaccinated. Now, I talk to people all the time who say they're just not going to do it. But why? Our Another View Roundtable is here and ready to talk about it. Please welcome Norfolk City Treasurer Daun Hester. Daun, thank you so much for being here.
I always love being with all of you.
And NSU Political Science Professor Carol Pretlow. Carol, how you doing?
Oh, wonderful. Good to talk to y'all.
So glad you're with us. And comedian and entrepreneur Allison Moore. Hi, Allison. How you doing?
Hey, y'all. Hey.
Now, our relationship expert, Alvian Lyons, could not be with us today because she is busy working on her second doctorate. She had some last-minute things she had to get done with that. And Alvian, we do miss you, and we're very, very proud of you. But we're going to segue right into today's conversation. And Daun, I'm going to start with you. Why so much vaccine hesitancy, particularly among African Americans? Why do you think we're just not getting shot?
I just think there are too many reasons, and for some I'll say too many excuses. But anyway, here we go with what Daun thinks. You know, we've had this history of what has been done with African Americans, with our bodies, from, the experiments in the past. And then we segue into today, and here we are with this deadly COVID pandemic that has taken so many lives. So many people of color have lost their lives, but just people, period, are dying from a disease that is impacting us. There are people I know who are skeptical of the vaccine. So let me, for full disclosure, say, yes, I am vaccinated, have been for a long time. But there are people who are afraid because they say it was the vaccine was produced too fast. But then if you look at facts, the vaccines for COVID have been produced since Ebola was around. And so we had scientists working on this for a very long time. So really the vaccines were not produced in a fast-track manner. It was something that was already being worked on and in preparation for something like this coming about. And so here we are. We now have the vaccine. But then you have people who are now saying, because it was produced so fast, I want to see how it works on other people. But even in that, y'all, we are also unique So my response to the vaccination that I received is going to be different from everybody else because it depends on your health, depends on your conditions, it even depends on your mental health about it. And so, my reaction was different from other people's reaction. But then you have so much stuff on social media, y'all, that's telling people not to get the vaccine or why they shouldn't get the vaccine, and it's not true. So then you've got to look at the social media and try to figure out what's facts and what's not. And my, other side of me that looks at things, I think that some people are pushing negative social media to our community and to our network so that we won't get it, because I think some people don't really care whether we live or die. I really do. And so if you're pushing this negative social media out to us and we're hearing it and believing it and not getting the vaccine because of that, then, there's some people in this world and in this country who think that we're expendable anyway. And, it's a part of the reason why, the crime and violence has not been elevated to the level that it should be. So I have a lot of thoughts, as you can see. But my last part of my statement is you can go up in Walmart. You don't need an appointment and get your shot. And I hope that you will, because I want you to protect not only yourself, I want you to protect your family, I want you to protect me, and I want everybody to be around here as long as they can be. Don't put it on being afraid to get the vaccine, because as I've told y'all before, I didn't get the flu shot, but I ran and got this vaccine because people were dying too fast for me, and I wanted to be around. So that's my 2 cents worth on that subject. Get the vaccination, please.
I got you. Carol, I'm curious. Are you surprised to hear that fewer than 25% of Virginians, African Americans in Virginia, are not vaccinated?
No, I'm not. Now, I'm always scared of getting sick for anything, so I rushed out and got it. But I have to admit this, that some of the hesitancy may be because of reactions to other experiences. For example, I stopped getting the flu shot because every time I got it, I broke out in hives and my face puffed up and I couldn't eat and all of that. But even though I had those experiences, I was more afraid of getting this virus than the flu. So I said, okay, I'll rush out and get it. And surprisingly enough, the first shot, I didn't have any problems at all. After I got it, I went to the mall and did shopping. And then the second shot, I didn't have experiences immediately, but I woke up like 3 o'clock in the morning and I just felt uncomfortable. And when I looked in the mirror, I said, oh my God, I know why I felt uncomfortable, because my face had puffed up and all. But when I called the friend who was a doctor, he said, no, don't worry. And he says, take some, I forgot what the medicine was he told me to take, and I took it and slept the rest of the night and was okay. But I think it's an initial fear of what is going to happen to me, and, we're looking at past experiences with various vaccines and all. So I think that's part of it.
Okay. Now, the vaccine is currently approved for emergency use, but still no full vaccine approval from the FDA. And some say that could take at least another 6 months. And I know some people that have not gotten the vaccine waiting on FDA approval because they're waiting. They say that'll be what will make them change their mind. Allison, what are you hearing from friends, family members, your network, as far as from the unvaccinated, why they're not getting vaccinated?
From the unvaccinated. Why you got it sounding like I'm on here talking to the unvaccinated? Don't be calling me out like the now all the AD listeners, they tell me like, Allison, I wonder if Allison got the vaccine. Y'all don't listen to her. Y'all can still book me. Don't worry about whether I got this vaccine or not. Okay, I'm coming. So here's my thought though, because I'm like in this space where even though my parents are deceased, I still kind of fit into that sandwich generation space. I do deal a lot with some of my best friends. Half of them are 65 plus years, right? And so they're like, don't let me die around here with this COVID, because, us old folks, like, they had to go. But then we have younger children who they're saying, the kids don't get it, right? So I'm hearing a lot of feedback from people that are right in the middle, like, I'm confused. Is it 911, whatever? Because I got these kids. I got 6 kids in this house that none of them got the shot. And I got my old parents upstairs. They kind of got the shot. And I don't know, and I feel like in that lack of clarity, people have had a lot of permission to say, maybe this vaccine is not as serious as you all are trying to make it. That's kind of some of the narrative and the rhetoric that I'm hearing. It's like, on the one hand, you want me to feel like there's this social responsibility that I have to get vaccinated. On the other hand, you just had a whole party in the commemoration of July 4th, this the end of the pandemic, which is not true. I'm confused. Then on another hand, you're kind of saying that the people that are not getting the vaccine are Black people that are underemployed and are at this certain poverty line or whatever. But then we're mad at these Black people who don't make $300, would rather be on unemployment. It's just weird. It's weird with when is this one little population responsible and when are we not? And I think that that's where a lot of people are saying, like, it's too much pressure for y'all to be worrying about this small group of Black people to get this vaccine when we have not covered any of the other problems that we have. That's some of what I'm saying, which is not necessarily, hearing, which is not necessarily right, but I'm the spokesperson for this invisible group of people.
I got you. We appreciate you being a spokesperson for the invisible group. We really do.
Y'all better call in and stop letting me lie.
I'm going to throw something. I'm going to throw something at you, ladies, and I want to hear your response to this. Now, a Pentagon spokesperson says that when the FDA does approve the vaccine, that's when DoD planners will discuss making it mandatory for military personnel. Your thoughts on the whole mandatory thing? What are your thoughts?
I ain't got no dog in this
fight. Go ahead, Allison.
She said she didn't have a dog in this fight.
Right. I'm trying to understand if we want people to take this vaccine, I want to see the buses and the vans that are going to put them on the bus, take them to the good Walgreens so they can get their shot. Help, like there's the equality versus equity. I'm having this conversation a lot, and I can't even get to that part because I'm still back here. Like, why are we expecting a group of people that we don't think can do something to do something? So I'm really interested in hearing what you all are saying about this military piece.
Well, I know that the president is trying to get people to get their shots from their primary care physicians. He said that in a speech earlier this week. That's one of the...
Doctor? This is what I'm saying. Okay. But this is what I'm saying. This is that's where exactly what I'm saying. Through the physician, who are you talking to? The population that we already know don't go to the doctor? This is just weird. It's just weird to me. And I'm not saying it's right, but I can empathize with, it's hard to push people off of these hard rocks with this kind of information to me.
Okay. Daun, you were going to say something about mandatory for military.
I think it's hard to make it mandatory for any group. I can't make it mandatory for my office. But we keep wearing masks around here. And when taxpayers come in, you're going to have to put a mask on. If you don't have one, you got to put one on. Because, you walk into the businesses nowadays and they have the sign up, if you're vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask. Well, I know you're telling the truth. So everybody got to have a mask on coming up in here because I want to take care of not only my staff, some who are not vaccinated, and for the taxpayers too. So we all got to be safe. So we all got to mask up, keep it around my neck everywhere I go. So mandating it, I think that because the Delta variant is harming so many young people, not young people, but people who are not vaccinated are really getting this variant. One of my staff members just said yesterday, he knew a father and a son who got the Delta variant because they weren't vaccinated. But making it mandatory, you have religious beliefs that you have to deal with, and everybody doesn't get vaccinated today, even, young people, when we're trying to get them in school because of different beliefs. So I don't know how we can say you must get the vaccine. But keeping that in mind, if you don't get the vaccine, that means that we're going to be wearing these masks the rest of our lives. And so it will still continue to be a part of our wardrobe if we want to stay safe, because we don't know who we're around and what could happen, because it still comes from us talking, being in closed doors. I'm scared for the fall and what it's going to look like, concerned about children going back to school. And some school districts you don't have to wear a mask. Some say you do. What's going to happen with our children? You know, we still got some elders and seniors in the senior high rises. We got to do a door-to-door. You know, we going to Patrick and we're going to go door-to-door on this day. And if you're not vaccinated, then provide the vaccine to those who want it. You can't force anything on anybody today. But for those who want it, don't have access, they have to be able to go get it. I don't know what they're going to do with that with the military, but I understand it. I understand why they want to mandate it. If I could mandate it, I would mandate it.
Well, I know some college campuses are requiring it. ODU will require students to be vaccinated ahead of fall 2021. And there are other universities and colleges across the U.S. that are requiring that the students be vaccinated before they return to campus. Carol, you're a college professor. What are your thoughts? I'm sorry, Daun. Go ahead and finish before.
That's okay. I was going to say that answers the question about the military then. They're going to mandate it. If you got universities mandating, military going to mandate it too.
Okay. Okay. Carol, what are your thoughts? You're on campus.
Well, I'm on campus, and I'm very much for people having control over their own selves, their own physical self. But I'm also aware that just as we have vaccines for everything else, and this is a crisis. And so it's not just protecting myself, it's protecting other people. So I am very much for the State Department of Education making it a requirement. And it's not an individual decision of Norfolk State or ODU or Hampton U. Let the Department of Education mandate it and say, before you register, you have to have the shot, and all faculty have to have the shot. And I'm aware, I'm very divided, because I do believe that people have personal responsibility and should have control over their own lives. But when your decision has an impact on everybody else, I think it should be a state-mandated and a federal-mandated situation.
Okay, thank you so much. I just got some word in. Hampton is requiring, Howard requires, Hampton is requiring it for faculty and staff. North Carolina A&T is suggesting but not requiring. So just giving you some ideas of things that are happening, in our region and in our area. I'm going to switch over a little bit. We're going to change subjects. We're going to slide into the legalization of marijuana now, if that's okay with you ladies. And
to the left.
and I can appreciate that the new law will greatly reduce the number of people stopped, arrested, convicted for marijuana use. But my thought is, shouldn't the new law have been accompanied by a legal way to purchase? That to me is a little bit of a concern, and I'm curious to hear what you all are thinking about that. Allison?
Well, I just want to make sure that all of the wonderful, shout out to the Another View listeners, if there's anybody here that just needs someone to help them test and try out their new growing product, I am willing to sacrifice my life home. I am Virginia's comedian, and I am here to make sure that Virginia is doing the best that we can do, okay? Secondly, I do think that there's a lot of loopholes in this situation that is very cringy. And for me, I'm just watching to see who decides they want to pretend like, or just who's socially unconscious. At this point, it's like, come on now. Because in addition to what you were saying, Lisa, about we can't purchase it legally, there's also, you can't have it. Like in federal, we were talking about that a little bit. I'm finding out information about not being able to even possess it in federal buildings, right? So if we unpack that, who's living in federal buildings? It's the same people who don't have positions. It's Black people who are in public housing. So these are the people that they get caught with some weed. They're the ones that are going to get locked up. It's just really weird to me, right? And weird is a whole nother word, but I'm using the word weird. And I'm just hoping that I'm looking for allies and friends and things. Somebody got to speak up, because you are related to a lobbyist. You are related to some people who make some decisions, and somebody has to say, this is just not fair. All my black friends, many of my black friends or my brown friends are in these public housing, these federal buildings. What happens if they get caught with what we have now said has become legal? And I think when we see just that as an example, we'll see how many opportunities there are for people to still get trapped up by marijuana. And then when we look at the data and see what are the likelihoods of people who fall in these traps being white versus being a person of minority, we just got to say all these traps is only around black and brown people. And then that's where we say, okay, it's exploitation of capitalism, right? Like, we know that these prisons got to be funded. We know that there is a recruiting pipeline, a whole source of how we get these numbers to keep this work or keep this money, this revenue that we benefit from them from the prison system. So, we could do that, or I could say, y'all just call me if you want somebody to test it. That's what I would rather say, because when you think about it, I get depressed. Help me.
I got you, Daun. I saw you shaking your head a couple times when Allison was speaking.
Because she is right. There's so many loopholes and there's so much confusion. You don't want people to get caught up and end up in the system thinking that they're doing something that the state has said is legal, but actually it isn't. So I would say wait until they go back into session and get these things written properly, and that it's clear for what you can and cannot do. Because you're right, if you're living in public housing, you're not supposed to have any kind of drugs, period. So Virginia has said it's legal, but the feds haven't said it's legal.
Right,
so what is
right.
redevelopment of housing? Right. What are the redevelopment of housing authorities going to do as it relates to that? Because they have now conflicting rules, and they've got to follow, in order to get their funds, they've got to follow the federal rules. So it's it's a whole lot in there. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I know while officers can't stop you because they smell it anymore, if they stop you for some other reason, you can't have it out like an open container either. It has to be in a lockbox. I've heard under the seat. I've heard in the glove compartment. I've heard in the trunk. But
it's sort of like how you keep your guns. You got to keep them secure. But according to the rules now, you're supposed to do it at home. You're not even supposed to have it out in the car, riding it somewhere else. It's supposed to be in your house, private, where nobody knows. You're not even supposed to sit on the porch.
I'm just trying to figure out what the sunlight is from these houses in the hood. They don't have good sunlight. I'm around here growing plants. I'm just saying, my money tree around here and my ZZ plant, it's just not the same lighting in the hood. And I ain't even all the way in the hood. I'm at the corner of the hood. It ain't right, y'all. It ain't right. And I don't know what else to say other than it ain't right. I don't like it.
Okay, Carol, I'm going to get your thoughts on this in just a second. If you're just joining us, we're talking about the legalization of marijuana in Virginia with the Another View Roundtable, Norfolk City Treasurer Daun Hester, NSU Political Science Professor Carol Pretlow, and comedian and entrepreneur Allison Moore. If you'd like to join the conversation, please pick up the phone and give us a call at 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Carol, please share your thoughts.
Well, I am flabbergasted. First of all, when there is a conflict between federal and state law, federal usually trumps the state. But I am very, very confused at why all of these loopholes and these problems weren't ironed out before the state passed the law in the first place. First of all, they have to know that people have to get the marijuana from somewhere. Second of all, if cigarette smoking is allowable other places, why isn't this? Because frankly, I'm scared of cigarette smoke. I have had people in my family who died of cancer. And I know that I have been alerted that my own system is weak, so I don't want to be near people smoking cigarettes. So if you are going to make a law, you make it so that it is applicable in all circumstances and all situations to everyone, and not have an adverse effect on certain portions of the population. The other thing that stands out to me, and I have to admit I haven't read a whole lot about this, is that it seems to have an impact on the African American community. Well, didn't they know this when they passed this? Why didn't they look at all the possibilities and all the things that might have an impact on our community and figure out how we are going to resolve the conflict and how it makes it, if it's legal in one situation, it should be legal in other situations. So I'm terribly confused and upset by it.
Okay, I want to, I'm sorry. Did I step on somebody? Yeah, go ahead, Daun. I'm going to take a call right after you. Go ahead.
Okay, I was just going to say, the General Assembly did rush to get it through because it was something that was a commitment that was made by members of the General Assembly to legalize marijuana in Virginia. And so because of that, there are still pieces and components that still have to be worked out and are being worked out by a commission that will bring forward legislation, again, to clarify what is not clear for all of us. So there is more to come. And so if you have interest in it, you need to make sure that some of that will go to your legislator so that it can be included in the changes that are going to come, even in the sessions that's coming up.
Okay. Thank you so much, Daun. Lawrence from Franklin, Virginia. Thank you for calling.
Well, thank you for having me. And thank you for having this conversation.
Go right ahead.
I was wanting to point out that what conflicts me the most is that they have passed this law they've made this legal, but they are holding so many African Americans in prisons and jails, not just in Virginia, but across this country, for simple things as possession, growing it, selling it. And the whole thing just doesn't it makes no sense to me. I feel kind of like a comedian where, regardless of what angle I look at this from, it's not good for us. It's very good for them, though. And it's funny to me that marijuana is okay now and legal now because they want to sell it. But when we were selling it, they were putting us in prison for it.
Yeah, I know there are some things in place to allow people of color to get into that group of selling, Lawrence. But the particulars, I'm going to have to I can't tell you them right now. But I know there are things in place for people of color to be among those that sell. But I hear you. I'm hearing what you're saying. So thank you for calling.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody want to?
Thank you, Lawrence, too, for calling. Yeah, because a part of what we have to change is the federal law. You know how hard it is to get anything done at the D.C. But we have to change the federal law, and then we can release a lot of people who are in jail for marijuana charges. So we still have to keep pushing. And, I'm always going to go back. We got to keep voting. Even when we get frustrated, we still got to keep voting. Because we do have to change the federal law in order to be able to get some people out of jail who are in jail for small amounts and for whatever amount of marijuana. Now that it's being legalized in the states, we got to keep that push going as well.
Okay. All righty. Let's take another call. I believe it's Savion in Newport News. Savion, thank you for calling Another View.
Hello, how you doing today?
I'm good. Go right ahead.
So I just wanted to comment on the issue here in Virginia. I'm the owner of the Hemp Hope Group. I've been fighting the legalization of Virginia since 2011. And during the General Assembly, I was in talks with some of the members of the Senate, some of the members of the governor's office. And to me, it just seems like they're using this as a campaign ploy for 2024. I addressed it to one of the governor's aides, and just pretty much said that there's no reason for Virginia to be taking this long to legalize properly. Me personally, I've been having to leave the state for 10 years to go operate in California, Colorado, and other states that are legal. And even this year, I have to go to Michigan in probably about 2 weeks to go set up a farm out there because Virginia, once again, didn't pass any strong laws to bring the actual business people here into the state. And instead, they're just, finagling the issue to try to finesse it to work in their way instead of actually just building a strong cannabis industry for the state of Virginia, leading the way for the country and the planet for this industry.
Savion, I have a question. How does that work in other states? When someone comes to you, what happens? What's the process?
For instance, with our Michigan project, we just had a partner out there that has 20 acres of farmland. He reached out to us, wanted to partner. We put in some money to get our license approved, and the license got approved. Certain states like California, the laws are still kind of shaky. The black market pretty much controls the California industry. I'm not sure if anybody is saying, but Governor Newsom out in California recently put up $100 million to try to solve the issue with their regulatory market. So just right now, I just felt like Virginia should have been the state to pass a strong recreational and medical cannabis bill. A lot of people don't know that we are the first medical cannabis state with laws on the books starting in 1979. So for us to be here in 2021, and Virginia has known that cannabis is beneficial, it's just political games at this point. And we're working to get those games done and over with so we can move forward with business.
Okay, the plants that you grow, do you sell them to dispensaries? Is that how that works?
We actually have a delivery service. We have the first national courier service. So we operate just kind of like the 420 Postmates. So we did some experimentation here in the Hampton Roads area. We were hoping that we were going to see some sales regulations come July 1st, and we didn't. So we just recently stopped running routes here in Virginia until we get some sales regulations.
Okay. Thank you for calling and thank you for sharing. We really appreciate that.
No problem.
Okay. All righty.
I just wanted to thank you. I want to thank you just for being in the industry.
Absolutely.
And your expertise, even though you may feel like it was just done for political, and some of that is true, but a lot of it is because we did want to, when I say we, I'm talking like I'm in a General Assembly, but because they wanted to make sure that we were moving forward, even though we're slow in Virginia. Your expertise is needed by the legislators because they don't have what you have. And so don't be discouraged, but try to continue to open that door so that the things that because you're in the industry, it will help them to make better legislation. So I really appreciate you and thank you for sharing that.
Queen, this is good. We got like this little mentee session for Another View listeners. We need his contact information so that you could connect him to the right people. That is why we need his contact information. That is it. That is why. Okay. Networking.
Savion, call back and give that to Barry for us. Okay, thank you. All right, we're going to segue a little again. Once again, we're going to go into this. We're going to go over to the campus of Howard University. Yay!
Yay!
Where Nicole Hannah-Jones has decided that she will teach at Howard University. She said goodbye to UNC. And Daun, was that her best call? Should she have decided to take the stay there and tenure and work the system at UNC, or is this the best move you think for her to go to Howard instead? What are your thoughts?
Okay. Well, I can't speak for her, but from one sister to another, I'm glad she made the move because there are many reasons. But if you're not respected in the place where you have been given your work and sharing and teaching, and you aren't given tenure that you have definitely earned because of the works that you have done, which is a part of earning tenure. Carol can talk a little bit more about that process because she's been through it. But when you're not respected for that because of work that you have done, because all of this, you all know comes from the 1619 Project, which is telling the truth about slavery and telling the truth about the whole American history and not leaving out bits and pieces of it. And so when someone presents documented work and then someone wants to stifle your voice and not give you what you're due, then no, she needed to leave. She doesn't need to share her expertise at that university. I'm glad she decided to go to an HBCU. I'm sure she had offers out the yin-yang that people wanted her to come to them. But I'm glad she went to the first HBCU and will share her knowledge and expertise, not only with the students there, but across the world. Because, This is a mess. I do hope she'll sue. I don't know how or what or why, but I think that the system needs to give her some money for messing her up because they didn't follow the rules that they have. They changed the rules because she followed all the rules for tenure. All they had to do was say yes. So they just changed the rules because of her and because of her body of work. That, to me, they need to be sued for that.
All right, Carol, Professor Pretlow.
Well, I have to admit that I can't be the objective person that I was taught through my legal education to be, because it made me angry. First of all, when someone is considered for employment on your campus, whether it's Howard or UNC or UVA or where, they tell you when you sit down with them, okay, this is what you need to do. This is the procedure that we use. This is how things operate. The whole tenure process, or what is part of you having tenure when you arrive at a university, is explained initially, not a month before you are to begin your duties. And I know this because I taught at Christopher Newport before I came to Norfolk State. And in the first interview session, they told me what the process was, what it took to get tenure, and each step along the way. The same way was true with Paul DeCamp and Norfolk State. So I'm wondering, and as I listened to the tape and I looked at everything, how is it this board waited this long to tell her? If they had told her in the beginning, well, look, we are going to offer you tenure, or no, you are not coming with tenure, she would have known initially. But there's something wrong there. Then the other side of things is, why do they, this is a rhetorical question, why are African-American professors, Black professors, treated so differently when we go to a university that is, excuse the expression, considered mainstream? It is almost as if they want our expertise once we have made a mark on the world, but before we make that mark, they figure that they are superior to us. And that's not the case. I was proud for her to be at Howard. I am delighted when I see the expertise that goes to any HBCU, and HBCU campuses are full of phenomenal scholars. So now I've gotten off my soapbox. I'm sorry.
Okay, you were breaking up a little bit, Carol. I'm going to see if they can check that and make sure you're right for our next segment. I'm going to ask Allison if she wants to chime in on that, or should we move to the other side of the Howard campus?
Right. There's drama everywhere over there.
There's drama to the College of Fine Arts, where the new dean of the college, Felicia Richard.
Well, I did want to make, I think in this space right here, it's really important, especially for our Another View friends and family that are white, that are leaders, to really understand what happens when, it's kind of time out where your people of color, they don't feel welcome, you don't feel comfortable, you don't feel safe, but recognizing that there are other options there. And to me, I've been doing a lot of work with diversity and inclusion. We had another View episode where Barbara hosted myself and business partner Jim. And we've been talking with organizations about how do you make someone feel comfortable, whereas when situations like this happen, it doesn't look racial, right? It can be clearly, we didn't think you were as qualified, or maybe we dropped the ball because administratively we're not on top of things or whatever. You know, sometimes those things happen, but it's hard to prove or say that that's what it is when you got this Black employer, this person of color who has not been welcomed, who hasn't been a part. And so there was a lot of conversation that I read with her experiencing all these microaggressions and things. And it just goes to a point because some people were saying, well, and I think we had this conversation offline too. Well, what is there to be said about her being able to work from within? But it's like, well, she was already within. And we already saw working within didn't necessarily help because it didn't get her promoted. She had to be external. It had to be a whole public thing for her to get the recognition that she felt. So sometimes you do have to protect your mental health. Sometimes you do have to get yourself in a space where people want what you're willing to contribute. I'm sure she's going to produce better and a more safe, creative, like her output is going to be all the way together now in an environment that it feels like she's wanted, as opposed to being in an environment where they're like, we don't get it, we don't understand you, or we're stifling you.
I got you. So you have any comments on the other side where the College of Fine Arts, where Felicia Rashad is under fire for congratulating Bill Cosby on his release?
Let's run across the yard over there. So listen, Sister Felicia, she was crying. She just should have shut up. Felicia just should not have said anything. She walked herself into that. I think we really love Felicia. People have really been trying to not say anything to her. A lot of people have been saying, how was you his friend for all of these hundreds of years and you ain't know that everybody was going in between on the bathroom breaks and being violated? Is what a lot of people kind of felt like that she was caping for Bill Cosby, or that it's the common thing where these perps or these violators have one or two people very close to them that are covering for them or enabling them to be able to make these heinous, actions or whatever. But I think for her, she kind of represents people who have family and friends that are weird. People who have family and friends that have blemished backgrounds, right? The reality of it is we love people that some of them are creeps. Some of us are creeps. Some people that love me might say that Allison is a creep. And at some point may have to pick a side on where they stand with what I've done or have not done. In cases like Felicia's, if you got someone that you love that have done so many things that have just caused so much trauma to so many people, you just got to shut up. I just really think we just got to learn how to be quiet. She walked herself into that. And now it's like you didn't expect a backlash. What is Howard supposed to do with someone who appears to be on the side of a serial rapist? Like, that puts them in a precarious situation. Because if I'm not sending my child necessarily, right? Like, as a parent, I'm like, well, hold on. If this is your senior leadership and this is what you all are saying is okay for her to feel like, why should I send my child there? Y'all gonna have to cut me off on this Zoom. I'm gonna keep going.
All right, I'm gonna move. I'm gonna move to Daun and get her response on that. Felicia Rashad did play Claire Huxtable from 1984 to 1992. So I'm sure there was a relationship there at some point. Daun, she wrote a letter. Was that enough to apologize to students and their parents?
Well, I mean, what else could she do other than teach herself? I will say that based on what I know from afar of her, she knows she put her foot in her mouth, and she will learn and grow from this. But there is some growth that she has to take from a situation of, he's my friend, whether he knew it or not, but he's my friend, to what's happening in the world with men and women who have been violated. And sometimes you just have to think, like Allison said, you say something to your friends, but you don't need to say anything out loud. And that's, she'll learn from it. And I hope that all of us learn from it, because you can't say everything that you think, y'all. That's part of the problem that we have with some of this crazy stuff going on around. You can't say everything you think. Or you have to think about it before you say it so it doesn't hurt or offend or, things like that.
Unless you're a comedian.
You're right. I wish that Dr. Lyons was up here, because I know she would sit back in her chair and have something for us for this segment. But it's just so interesting because this Bill Cosby thing, they were talking about this when I was a child, right? And so Felicia Rashad, this is not new. I just don't understand. She was quiet the whole time. That's where it just gets kind of weird. Like, why did you say something? Or you're not a new celebrity, or this is not a new something or whatever. And we just went through, who was it? Sharon Osbourne, maybe on The Real or The Talk, who stuck up for her friend. I can't remember these people's names. I don't want to start lying, but the guy who he was in his feelings for Megan or whatever to curb him. What was it? Piers or somebody. She said something. Yeah. She got dragged. She's off the show. And rightfully so to a lot of people. It's like, Felicia, what did you... I don't know. That's just weird to me. She got Debbie Allen. They're not new to Hollywood. Entertainment, public relations. That was just ultimate weird.
Okay. All righty. Thank you, ladies.
Am I passionate?
Yes, absolutely.
I know these people. Y'all somebody here to get me famous. I'm acting like I'm famous. Why, Jesus?
Carol, anything before we move on and talk about TikTok?
I think you all have said it all.
Okay. All righty. All right. Let me set this up a little bit. Then I'm going to toss it over to Allison, who's going to bring it home. But let me set this up a little bit for people who have never. There is a strike going on because Black social media creators are striking because they're saying their choreography, their dances are being stolen by white social influencers who are taking it to a national stage, who are taking it to athletic events, who are pretty much getting paid for things that they did not create. And one example is a dance called The Renegade that was created by Jalea Harmon, a 14-year-old from Atlanta. And she dances to a song called Lottery. Yay, I got it right. Okay, so Allison, to me, it's the same story, a different narrator, but you bring it home. Explain it to us.
Absolutely.
What's going on.
I mean, it is. It is definitely the old age case of cultural appropriation. But it's in a way in which I feel like, again, shout out to Generation Z. They are really the heroes right now. They're the people that are speaking up. They're the people that are really causing us adults to be like, we got to answer this. They're like, I don't understand why 2 + 2 is not adding up here. So in this particular case, here's an example where Addison Rae, well, she's a celebrity. You know, you got this white woman, this young lady or whatever, who is really popular for doing these trendy TikTok dances. These trendy TikTok dances, right, wrong, or indifferent, they are not coming out of the suburbs, okay? These dances, the way that they dress, these are coming from little kids. We even see the children that are creating these dances, but the people who get to profit off of them are not Black. And I think that that's what the problem is, because I'm hearing a lot of people, it's so cringe, they want to minimize it. Like, you know, it's just social media. It's just, you know, a problem with dancing. It's just these kids. So here we go again. Now the white kids can't dance. That's not what it is. It is, there are some people that are profiting. They're getting paid. Their families are able to live. They make money off of being TikTok dancers. They have never choreographed or created the dance. They've never gone in the neighborhood or the parties where the dancers are created. And the creators are not getting anything. And that's what the bigger problem is. It's this age-old, we see it all the time. When Black people do it, it's ghetto, it's raunchy, it's grown, it's negative. When white people do it, it becomes luxury, exotic, exciting, it becomes expensive. And the guy that called in with the marijuana, he said the same thing. When weed was a Black thing, it was ghetto. Now this is profitable. When these trendy dances on TikTok was just, you know, some ghetto gyrations. Now this girl takes the same ghetto gyration and she's on a late night talk show, and they're getting sponsorships. They're getting money. But the 3 girls who were 16 who look like they could be my kids are still broke. And that's where it's painful. But it took Generation Z to call them out. And TikTok is an app that works around. I mean, everything on TikTok is not dances, but majority of it is around this whole fun, small vignettes of dances and et cetera. So you're going to see why is the people that are creating the dances that this app benefits from don't get any money. And that's just frustrating.
I noticed that over the weekend, they had Jalea at the All-Star game dancing doing her dance, doing the Renegade. I guess it was a Renegade during halftime, trying to give her, a little bit of, her flowers.
Right.
Was it enough? No? Yes.
I mean, it's a start, but it is. I think it's you got to start. Nothing is going to be enough. Nothing that what we talk about today can it be one action to be enough. But shaming, stealing something that's not yours, and then the people who did it not getting credit for it is where we start. It's the same thing with cigarette smoke. When we started shaming cigarette smoke, people stopped wanting to smoke cigarettes. When we start shaming racism, people are going to stop thinking it's cool to be racist. When we start shaming our white friends who act like they can't see, they got willful negligence, they're going to stop thinking it's okay to be quiet. They're going to speak up. When we start shaming these people who we say, ain't no way in the world you figured out how to make cornrows on your own, but you making money off of these cornrows. Who taught you how to make cornrows? Let's go ahead and make sure that they benefit too. Because the reality is, if these creators are not making these cool dances that make people want to go to TikTok, then the whole game shut down. Because if you guys could make the dances, you would make the dances. So you can't make the dances. So let the people who are making the dances or who are feeding the creativity benefit from it. So the creativity can keep going. We don't want to stop y'all from making your money, but artists want to eat too. And so obviously I'm really passionate about that because what we do comes out of that's your essence. And somebody else benefit. If I turn on the TV and somebody joking about my joke that I made today about this weed, me being the first Virginia spokesperson for the weed people, I'm going to be mad. I'm going to be mad. My feelings going to be hurt. Yeah, shut me up, y'all, for real. Hey, y'all.
Right. Daun, I saw you shaking your head a couple of times when Allison was speaking about this same story, different narrator.
Well, she made me think about, Allison made me think about what, because I'm not a TikTok viewer, but what I hear is that we're talking about how you protect your business and how you protect your creativity. And so how do we get to the point where if I create this dance or if I create whatever, what do I have to do, just like with music, so that you can't steal it? And whenever you use it, it's got to be mine. And you have to give me credit for it.
It's not that. It's more so we have to get white people to acknowledge that when a black person did it, you said it was ghetto. But when your kid did it, you said it was amazing. And you gave them money. You found money to give them money for that. But you didn't do that when we did it. That's really the issue. Because if black people go and protect their dances, that's going to be fine. The issue is it's just like bonnets. Black people wear bonnets is ghetto. I bet you white women start wearing a bonnet on their head. It's going to be luxurious.
Okay, I got you now. I got you. Thank you.
And thank you. Thank you, everybody. Because we're out of time. We're going to have to wrap. We're going to have to wrap the conversation at this point. But ladies, thank you so very much. It's always a pleasure when I am in the company of the Another View Roundtable. Just absolutely fabulous. Thank you, Daun Hester, Norfolk City Treasurer. Thank you so much, NSU Political Science Professor Carol Pretlow. And thank you, comedian and entrepreneur Allison Moore. And thank you, our listeners, for taking time to spend your noonday hour with us. Barbara will be back next week for a brand new Another View. If you haven't already, please sign up for our eView newsletter, a once-a-week reminder of what's coming up on Another View. Our theme music is an original composition created and performed especially for Another View by Jay Sennett. Producer Paul Vivo, thank you so much for filling in for me. Todd Washburn, as always, thank you so much for all that you do. Dr. Barry Graham answered our phones, and intern Brianna Walton for all your help with this week's show research. I'm Another View producer Lisa Godley. Please join us again next Thursday at noon for Another View.
Support comes from Hampton Roads Community Foundation, carrying out your charitable wishes forever, whether it's helping shelter animals, feeding the homeless, enhancing the arts, or supporting students. Learn more at leaveabequest.org.